Yep. G'day, listeners. This is Rick Williams. Just go over our betting today at Caulfield. We're coming off an absolute terror of a day at Bendigo. We didn't find a winner on Thursday. It was shocking. And on Wednesday, where we were at Pakenham, I think we finished about square, and Dandy Gent got pipped on the line, and we had him going for about 8 or 9 units, I think, and that was sort of the start of what's been a tough week. So we'll thank Dandy Gent for starting that shocking period. But look, just to get into business here, it's been a tough week for us, but that's what it's all about. Look, I thought Keener Ray, looked a nice horse. It's pretty well noted he was coming off of, some pretty good performances on the synthetic tracks. But he was up against Bassett, and King Light came out last week and sort of had that Bassett form. And, I sort of had, I think, as I said in the early edition, I could have had Keener Ray anywhere between $2 and $2.50. So, look, he was sort of bang on the mark for us. He wasn't significant, and Bassett sort of wasn't really a price. I sort of had a look at the Quinella. Really, didn't sort of look to be a great price either. So in the end, we just sort of passed on the race, and thankfully we did that, because we probably would have lost a couple of units there if we definitely would have lost a couple of units if we backed Keener Ray. So we didn't bet there, and we got off to a good start by dodging one. Look, on the Rhythm to Spare, this was a race we didn't get involved in early, but as the horse's price got out, it was pretty hard for me to not just have a small bet on him. It wasn't a race I wanted to go mad in. Such was the nature of the race, but he's sort of double the price I thought he should have been. And look, in the end, he was probably a little bit luckless. Whether or not he should have won, we'll never know. But definitely the horse didn't. He could have had a bit more luck at a couple of stages in the race. So he was a bit like a pinball. I think he copped around 4 big checks. He seemed to pick himself up after the first couple, just from the quick look I had at the replay. But after the next couple, he sort of threw in the towel. So I think with a clear run there, we could have been right in the finish. But certainly, we can't take anything away from Good Value or Rugged Cross, who ran well. But Rhythm to Spare's definitely one to follow without doubt. Put that in your black book. On to the third, and another lot of bad luck here. Look, Capset was well backed early on, and then the reports from the yard prior to the race was that he was a little bit hot and bothered, and the market, sort of latched onto that, and he blew right out, and in the end he sort of got up on the speed and really did nothing. It was quite a disappointing run. I think maybe the yard had a fair bit to do with that. Our other bet here was Collins Street, and this horse was he was another one that was really unlucky. So I guess he was always probably going to be in a little bit of a tricky spot from the draw, but he was just looking for runs all the way up the straight, and again, had he sort of been able to get out and have a full go at them, I got no doubt he would have been right there. So we had Rhythm to Spare in race 2, and then Collins Street. So a couple of races in a row, we didn't really have a great deal of luck there, unfortunately, and one of them would have been nice for us, but it wasn't to be. Look, I just wasn't sure in race 4. No matter what I did, I sort of didn't see barrier 14 as a positive for Sadaj, so it sort of came out around $6 for me, and I couldn't give it a bonus or anything. I didn't penalise it either. I just sort of kept it neutral. I think the market, really latched onto the fact that the runner that beat it last start at Moonee Valley, that won last week at Flemington, it escapes my mind. Well, it came out and won a Group 2. So they've really elevated their opinion of this horse, Churchill Dancer. They've really elevated their opinion of Sadaj based on the fact Churchill Dancer has come out and won a Group 2. And look, the horse ended up wide the trip. And I guess we'll probably never know. But I still think, just based off of my figures anyway, it was just always looking a little bit too short. And, the Dainstrom form line with Mossbeat, a lot of runners came out of that race and ran flat because they went so hard. Dainstrom went so hard, and they've obviously recovered from those runs. So, horse like Set Square and the winner, the Moody one, Abide With Me, I think it's called. So it's probably worth just going over and having a look at the runners through that race, and certainly expect them to return to that level the next time they come out, now that they've had a good bit of time to get over what was essentially a bit of a gut buster. Onto the race 5, and I had 3 runners here rated sort of under $5. I was pretty happy. Don't Doubt Mama was the one to beat. Really good sectionals last start, and basically, if we're sort of measuring those closing sectionals, it really looked the one that would be the best suited out to 1400, and certainly it produced an outstanding last 400 metre sprint off of what was quite a modest tempo. I think it was around 22 flat or something like that, 22.05, and Sacred Star was sort of wide the trip and flashed home and broke 22 for its last 400. So, that horse ran around 7 or 8 lengths above the average at Geelong on the synthetic for its last 200 on debut, Sacred Eye. And it was the equal quickest last 200 ever, over 1,300 metres on that track. So we had a pretty good idea this horse had a big turn of foot, and it sort of backed up its ability to produce an outstanding sprint, albeit off of a soft tempo, but on a turf track. So, look, I think Sacred Eye, for mine, is definitely the one to follow coming out of this race. Whether it might come all a little bit too early for it in its first prep, that's a possibility, but definitely for the autumn, this is a 3-year-old you really want to rubber stamp. I think it's got a pretty big future. So yeah, we had our first collect. So we put out around 3 units and got back about 7. Oh, Charlie Boy. Oh, I'll have a few nightmares about this. So yeah, look, I sort of thought Fell Swoop was just a little bit short. It's sort of hard to knock the horse, but just the way I was sort of looking at the race, I sort of couldn't get him there. I don't pay a huge amount of attention to weight, over the sprint trip. So, I was pretty happy with Charlie Boy. I sort of put Boban in here, and I thought, where would Boban sit in the market if he was in the race? Obviously, with the form Charlie Boy had through him in Queensland. And, I was pretty happy with where I was at. Obviously, Fell Swoop was always going to be difficult to beat. And then we got we're just sort of listening out for a good report from the yard that Charlie Boy was in good order. And, I was confident enough, from the reports that come through that the horse could run a good race. Basically, as you can see, he just rated quite strongly on my end. And then Fell Swoop had to... get the shoes put on behind the gates and got caught wide, and Charlie Boy's got the Butte run, and, it all looked really good. But in the end, Oliver and Fell Swoop were just too good for us, unfortunately. And another one that, just sort of went against us at another 9 units. So it was another frustrating race there. But, the figures were around the mark, but we unfortunately just sort of couldn't get anything out of them. So another little frustrating loss there in race 6 with Charlie Boy. On the race 7, and another race that from the early sectionals we've looked at turned into a boat race. Curry pushed wide, early. over the first 200, and the reality is he should have probably continued on with that run. He decided to ease up on the horse and ended up 3 wide. They slammed the brakes on by the looks of it, and what happened was all the horses that were out the back were able to, with the big sprints, were able to get themselves down the middle of the track in the fast lanes. And, basically the on-pace horses that can run a quick time, they really rely on being able to put the acid test on the back markers, throughout the early and middle part of the race to take that really explosive sprint out of their legs, and that just wasn't able to happen the way the race was run. But in saying that, Tycoon Tara did run last, so I'm not sure if there was an issue. And certainly I can't knock the winner, Politeness, so it's just a little bit dirty. I probably didn't get anything on her, but I ended up playing the race a little bit differently. Such was the confidence with Tycoon Tara. But I've learnt my lesson there. I won't be doing that again. I sort of know once you get a jockey ranking of 8, they're not historically the horses to have a good each way play. But sometimes you persuade yourself, and I did a bit of persuading there, and I've gone the wrong way, and it's probably cost us at least a break even on the race. So a bit disappointing there that I've gone the wrong way, but sometimes that happens, doesn't it? So if it won, I think it was 3 units a place times 2.5 is 7.5. So 6 or 7 a win. So if it got up, it's 13 or 14 units, and you're a genius. But that's the nature of the game. On the race 8, and look, I was pretty keen that Magnapel was the horse to beat. I couldn't rubber stamp him, though. Again, he just didn't have, as you can see, the jockey and trainer. It just wasn't there. And just historically over time, when you come in with those rankings, you can have a few issues at times. So I was happy to back Magnapel and certainly save on the United States and spec a couple of others at odds. So we played around a bit here, but in the end, Magnapel was just a little bit too good. And last year, that horse Grizz Caro won, and it was sort of the same. A tough sort of horse that was third up and down in the weights. And I think that it's probably a pretty good pattern to follow. And the United States was the same. So they were both horses on the minimum that were rock hard fit with winning form, and that's that followed the pattern, as opposed to the more classier horses that aren't as up and going yet. And that's sort of evident by, if you look at the last 10, there's a lot of crosses 2 points back. So a lot of horses second up and coming off nowhere runs. So a lot of horses here were a run short and just not suited, and in the end they'll probably take some good improvement. So Magnapel's done really well, and he was a good win for us, much needed, because without him we were looking at a bit of a horror. And then on to the last, and it was always a difficult race. I mentioned in the early edition I wasn't sure about the race, and in the end, there was, we had 3 rated up the top, and there was some pretty decent prices around for them. So I was happy to pull the trigger in the end. Tarzino, I knew he was coming out of a really strong form race, but just where was he going to get to from barrier 18? And he probably got to where I thought he would, 15 lengths last. But I sort of never expected that the horse would be able to, produce a huge finish like that. So, that's the danger of betting in these types of races. You can get found out. But we were on Sailing By. She got out to 650. It was, a really good over for us on our top rater. But unfortunately, she just couldn't hold on, and another 9 units went begging. So look, it was in the end, we only lost around 3.5 units. So it's not a huge loss, but some days you lose 3.5 and you're happy, and some days you lose 3.5 and your head's spinning. And such is the nature of the day. We sort of didn't have a lot go right and got close a few times, and it was a day of coulda, shouldas, and wouldas. But yeah, so to close out, not a great week for us. I think I haven't looked at the tally, but we've probably done around 24 units or something like that, which is never fun. But looking back and assessing the way we've rated the races and all that, I really wouldn't change anything. I sort of have been pretty happy with the work we've done. We just sort of haven't got the money. So onwards and upwards, we'll have a good rest over the weekend, which is much needed, and enjoy the footy tonight. And we'll catch you guys next week. So thanks for listening, and all the best.